Welcome to Disney Journey. I'm retired Imagineer Jim Schull, and every week here on my YouTube channel, I share stories of over 30 years of experience as an Imagineer. If you've just found my channel, welcome. If you're a longtime viewer, then welcome back. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about something that's been in the news, although it's not good, because I'm going to be talking about the closing of the Rivers of America in Frontierland in the Magic Kingdom. Which leaves the Magic Kingdom of all the castle parks the only one without a water feature on a grand scale. Because water can be grand, can be fun, but it's in every single castle park around the world. And that's what makes this both unusual and a little sad. Because it's a missed opportunity. It's a place that you used to be able to walk along and look at the river, watch people, see the steamboat, see the Columbia, listen to music, and really enjoy life. And sometimes that's what you really come to a theme park, at any Disney park, for. It's not all about the roller coasters. It's just simply a time where you can explore on your own pace. I recall watching the band many times on the Liberty Bell and over in the Mark Twain work their magic. And then I'd look at the shoreline and see the world move past. Since my home park is Disneyland in California, I admit that when I got to the Magic Kingdom, whether for work or pleasure, I didn't make the Liberty Bell and the Rivers of America or Tom Sawyer's Island the priority I should have. I fell into the camp of saying, oh, that's non-preferred capacity. I'm going to go over to Space Mountain. And I did that multiple times, and other people did as well. And operators and park managers look at that and think, wow, people really don't go there as much as they go other places, and we have this land, and we could do something with this land. But you look at the land, and you look at the water, and you look at the windmill, and you think about all the things that people used to go, admittedly not in huge numbers, but they enjoyed it. It was special. It was unique. And it's all gone. Every bit of it. And the time has moved on. And we're years away from seeing Cars Land and maybe in the future the announced Villains Land. But for now, WED owns this land. And the Rivers of America have been struck from the guidebook, which is there digitally and on paper for all the guests to have. No matter how deep into the Disney vault of ideas you dig, the idea of a river has always been part of the key component of any Disney park, starting with the very first one. And I don't mean Anaheim. I mean the little park there across from the studio in Burbank, California. It was totally different in their realization of what a river would be, but it was there. It was there after the orange trees were removed, that is. It didn't take long, a year, until the Rivers of America were filled and there was river traffic. You'd walk down Main Street USA, into Frontierland, and there, beyond the fort, the icon of the land, the riverboat, beckoned me. I remember as a child always being fascinated by that because we just didn't have anything like that in Southern California, which made it both unique and special. The day came when the Mark Twain was dedicated and set to cruise to this day on the rivers. It was special. I say that a lot, probably too many times, but it was. For a ticket, you could step aboard the Mark Twain. Coming back to the land, you could see a billboard of all the things that were going to be coming to Frontierland. The river was used by everyone. In fact, it was used a lot, and most famously by the cast members, because they'd have their famous canoe races there early in the morning. Those hungry cast members could step on over to Fritos and get a chili pie, which makes me hungry even thinking about it. The Frito kid, he's all right. And this points to something And that is that Frontierland and the Rivers of America had a lot of soft capacity. And by that, I mean it's a very placid surface. It's a water trough. It had canoes and other rivercraft, keel boats. In time, it got phantasmic. It also served a purpose, though, and that was it was part of a complete looping water system through the entire Disneyland park. All told, when you put everything together, though, the Rivers of America delivered a tremendous amount of capacity, and that gets everyone's attention. And by everyone, I mean the team that was about to start work on building Walt Disney World in Florida. The Disney archives document that when work began on Project Florida, the focus was on Epcot, not the Magic Kingdom. When the Imagineers' attention turned to the Magic Kingdom, it was natural that they'd carry over from Anaheim the most successful elements of that park. And of course, one of the most successful was the Rivers of America, because that was the icon, the foundation for Frontierland. And so they brought Frontierland to Florida just on a grander scale. However, this version of the river would be built in a very different location. Not the arid Southwest, but a very wet Florida, where water management was going to be a big part of the equation. This river will be part of an overall management water system. It would be from its own area into a canal into the Seven Seas Lagoon. It was not part of a circulating system within the Magic Kingdom park. But nevertheless, the guests didn't really care about that. They just wanted to look at the pretty sights like the steamboat or the river or the Haunted Mansion in the distance or the landscaping or way in the distance there, Thunder Mountain. Later on, Splash Mountain. Now, of course, that's changed. There was also part of the change, this walkway, which was built for Splash Mountain, which was going to be temporary but never left. Regardless of that, there was a piece of land on which Splash Mountain would be built, and that is Thunder Mesa. Thunder Mesa was never built, not in that form. It came close. There was a model made, there was a drawing made, there was, well, a mountain made, part of the idea, which you could see from the steamboat. And the steamboat would also carry you past Tom Sawyer's Island, which would welcome you with a map and trails to explore and places to shoot guns from and places to get lost in. Many, many children were lost in those caves. I know of one. But what's interesting about it is it's kind of a precursor to Animal Kingdom. Think about it. Animal Kingdom itself was really an adventure at your own pace. You could stand and look at an animal for an hour if you wanted to. I go to gorilla trails and stand and look at the gorilla and they'd look at me. And the same idea applied here on the island. You could take the time you wanted and see the things you wanted to see. And honestly, in a very high tension, high energy Florida trip, it was a great place to kind of stop and cool down. You'd ask yourself, what's inside that windmill? And you'd go up the stairs and to be rewarded by this beautiful vista. The island and its placement on the river is a masterclass in good thematic design, theme park design. Because you're, again, constantly being rewarded. You turn to the right, and here's a barrel bridge. You continue on, and you find yourself circling back to the windmill. Off in the distance, you'd see the Haunted Mansion. You'd hear the screams. You'd hear the music. At the same time, you're always anchored, because, again, going back to the windmill, it was an icon, something that would keep you from getting lost. Not so with the cave. When you walked into the cave, it was a lot scarier the first time I saw it than I thought it would be. There were these faces, and They were carved out of the rockwork, and there was sound effects, and it was big, a lot bigger than the one in Anaheim, which was an in and out one and done. This thing would be something you could get lost in. And it was at the pinnacle of this example of types of, well, not a maze, but a location, an environment. It would be unsurpassed until the cave at Adventure Isle in Disneyland Paris was built and opened to guests. That is still open and by far is the best of any of these. But the Frontierland version in Magic Kingdom was no slouch. It's closed now, and half of the island is going to be given over to Cars Land. It will not be a Cars Land like any we've seen. It's going to have, well, they've announced one major ride and a secondary ride, which is yet to be announced, which is not always good news. Means it might not happen, but we'll see. The new artwork is a lot more fun than the original artwork, and it's going to be more of a race rally, and soon it'll be built. It'll open by the end of this decade or early in the next. Meanwhile, the Imagineers take this road to the site every single day. As an Imagineer, I've been part of project teams that have closed rides, lands, and even entire parks. There's always a somber moment that occurs, though, when you start the process. When you finally close the land, put up the construction wall, and tell people you can't come here anymore because it's closed forever. You hope what you're doing is better than what's there. But at the same time, there's that somber moment of wait because somebody, hundreds of people, spent many hours, hundreds of hours, thinking about building, planning, and operating the thing you're closing. I'm not saying that it's wrong to close things in a Disney park, but it does carry a lot of weight with it. You have to go and tag all the props and decide what you're going to keep and where does it go, what warehouses it go into, and unfortunately tag the things that are going to be destroyed. A lot of these trees, well, virtually all the trees will be gone. All the shelters, the dock, the boats, the support craft, everything will all be gone. And the Liberty Bell is gone now. This is not a photograph, but this is a photograph of where it's been stored and likely is now. There is another Rivers of America, but it's not where you would think it'd be located because this one is not in America, not in the United States at all. It's in Tokyo, Japan, at Tokyo Disneyland. They're not in their Frontierland because they don't have one. They have a Western land. But they do have a river, and they do have an island, and they do have a ship that you can go and enjoy to this day. It's an interesting location for the river because it's surrounded on landfill, industrial, it's reclaimed soil. It's not very exotic, but they pull it off because it's beautifully landscaped and, well, it's just beautiful. There are things to see and hear. There's another one also that we should talk about. And this one is not the Rivers of America. It's the Rivers of the Far West. And really should be Far East because it's in Paris. Euro Disneyland. Today, Disneyland Paris. It's interesting because even though it's in Frontierland, it was named Rivers of the Far West. It's one continuous loop. It does have, as its centerpiece, Thunder Mountain. It also has this river boat, which is slowly rotting. And it once had a keel boat. It does have canoes still, but it doesn't have the same level of glory that it had the first few years. It does have a geyser field, which was rebuilt. And it's beautiful. It's even beautiful in the winter. I know, I was there. And the mountain is beautiful, and the river does ice over before you ask. But regardless of that, it's some place to go and visit, to enjoy and cherish. There are other rivers, and we should talk about those. The one in Hong Kong Disneyland has the shape of the rivers of America, but it's not. This one is an Adventureland, and it's wide enough that you could have floated the Mark Twain, but strangely enough, it doesn't have that. It has jungle boats, because this is the Jungle Cruise. And the vessels cruise around the island, which is unique because most of the island is off limits. There is the tree house that we all know from Anaheim and other places, but it's Tarzan's treehouse. There are some cute animals, but that's about it. It's very small. Shanghai Disneyland, on the other hand, doesn't have an island you can get to at all. This island is on Adventure Isle, and it sits at, well, between Adventure Isle and Treasure Cove. The closest you can get to this island is when you are on your canoe. You get to paddle around the island, you can get close to the island, but there's nothing on the island, and thus no reason to go to the island. The island is so large, it looks like a place you need to go to or should go to, but you can't go to it. It'd be fun to go there and experience a storm like this, which is not uncommon there in China. There's another circumstance that we should talk about, and that is that we may be looking at a Disneyland without any lake at all, because this one is going to be the one built in Abu Dhabi. And it's going to be built inside of a box, because as we learn from their spokesperson, that's what they do. So imagining, how do you build a Rivers of America inside of a large building? That's a head scratcher. You could do it, and the Imagineers of all people could be the ones to break the code. We shall see. But the most important thing, I think, is to talk about where this all began. It began with the idea that Walt had to create a family fun park, a place that everyone could enjoy together. There'd be romance, there'd be nostalgia, history, a bit of thrill, a bit of exploration. And it would be a fun place that people could go and return to. And every single year they came back, the trees would have grown, it would become more lush, more inviting. And this was a template that was applied to both in California, Florida, and in points beyond. I believe that in the decades since Disneyland's first version of Rivers opened, it's become more valuable because it's become more exotic. We are further and further away from that period in American history where this was common, known, and people had contact with it. Even though today you could not go to Fort Langhorne. Once you could have, and you could have stood at the peephole and pointed your gun, your rifle, out at the rivercraft and imagine that you were a rugged explorer looking and challenging and surviving and bringing the Old West to heel. Afterward, you could go and have a nice, refreshing beverage and walk along the boardwalk and relax and enjoy a forest of 50-year-old trees. But you can't now. The way is blocked, and soon the trees will be removed. And that's all. Which, to be honest, makes me sad that this core DNA of any Disney castle park has faded into yesterland. It's time to tie up the boat and bring this episode to a close. I'll have another new episode next week. Until then, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and consider becoming a channel member, just like these folks. By supporting this channel through membership, you ensure its continued existence. I'll leave a link in the show notes below. Until next time then, it's goodbye from Lost Canyon.